Welcome to the world's fastest growing podcast that interviews random Todds and asks them unpredictable questions in a series of wacky segments.
Here at the Toddcast, we believe every Todd has a story, and we want to hear it. All right, so welcome in, everybody. Today, we have Sideshow performer / old-time strongman, Todd Gardner, a.k.a. Hot Todd Lincoln. You can find him on Instagram at Hot Todd Lincoln. Thanks for joining us, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I can't say that, or I can't stress enough how excited I am that I'm among random Todds. We are not a large group of people, and so it's kind of nice to be a part of something. So that's great. Thank you.
It's an exclusive rights group, and you made the cut. I mean, so congrats on that.
It's a reasonable 4-letter word, so we're pretty pleased about that. Yeah.
Very reasonable.
Yeah, we're very excited to hear more about you, and with that, it's time for
Once Upon a Todd.
All right, so once upon a Todd, this is a time for you to say, who are you, Todd? What do you want the listeners to know about you? Free reign. Over to you.
All right, so my stage name is Hot Todd Lincoln. I am the old Jewish man trapped in the old Jewish body. That is only getting truer every day, particularly with some of the things I do that really feels very true. It's bending horseshoes over your legs or bending steel across the your arms or that sort of thing. It's kind of a you start to feel that. That's a thing. But,
I could imagine.
But yeah, I'm a sideshow performer / old-time strongman. I engage in old-time strength feats. I'm not, we're not talking like moving the big stone down the block or putting it onto a thing like you see on the, ESPN Extreme or the Ocho or whatever ESPN thing you're watching. It's much more of a, like, these are old carnival feats and things like, guys would claim they could take an axe and like lower it all the way to their face without bending their elbow and bring it right back up, but without hurting themselves. And, or they would, like I said, bend horseshoes into hearts or bend 60 penny nails, 6-inch 60 penny nails, which is a thing, and so it's like ripping phone books and all those sorts of things. And it's kind of I'm seeing, through the beauty of the internet and Instagram and like hashtag steel bending, for example, you see a lot of folks that are, it's like, it's becoming like a competitive thing. Like, how big a piece can you bend? How quickly can you bend it? What's the, and so it's kind of kind of happened into this world, and it's a pretty interesting one. But in addition to that, I also do other more traditional sideshow feats like walking on glass or eating fire or laying on a bed of nails and having people like smash a cinder block on my chest. What you usually do on a weekend kind of thing.
Yeah, the norm.
Yeah, it's the norm. I did have a friend one time like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm really sore. And then I remembered I'd done like 2 shows on Friday where it's like I was in a straitjacket race with another performer, and so it's like a lot of flailing around and had was the bottom of a bed of nails sandwich and basically just did a lot of painful things to myself. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did that stuff. And she was like, oh, that's adorable that you have such an exciting life that you forget such things, and such a shame that you're getting so senile at such a young age. And it was like, I will throw you out of a moving vehicle. Leave me alone. That's great. But yeah, so that's generally it. Generally it, right? Like, but that's a lot. But fundamentally, a lot of this boils down to sort of challenging myself to do what I wasn't able to do yesterday, or to do what I was able to do yesterday even better this go round. Sword swallowing and human blockhead, where you pound a nail into your face, and swallowing balloons, et cetera, eating razor blades, those types of things, tearing decks of cards.
Super nutritious.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fiber. Really. Yeah. Like eating balloons, right? I mean, that's a very light, airy diet. So you're kind of good.
That's good. I feel like it's low on carbs. Probably. I see you're watching a figure.
Yeah. Well, if I don't watch my figure, no one else will. You know what I mean?
So Todd, when did you get into this?
So the sideshow portion, in terms of that kind of performance or things, I've been doing that for probably close to between 7 to 10 years. This old time strength stuff has probably been the last 2 or 3 years. I met a coach by the name of Chris Ryder. So he's a great coach and a great teacher as far as strength feats, and he's been in the game for a long time. Hercules, and the fact that he can pull like a Lamborghini with his hair, kind of thing. So it's an appropriate name. So
I think Brad can pull a Lambo with his hair as well.
Oh yeah, these luscious locks up here.
Yeah, no, it looks like you did, and then you'd have to recover. So I'm gonna.
Yes, I tried it one time, and then it pulled all of my hair out, and this is my life now. My entire face is one forehead. So
yeah.
No, but that's cool. I mean, recently we saw you. We found you on Instagram.
Right.
Saw some of your videos. Recently saw you ripping or just tearing this very tiny deck of cards, just ripping it to shreds, basically.
Right. Which is much harder than regular
pretty cool.
cards, strangely enough.
Right. Because it's so much more compact.
Yeah. Well, thank you. No, it's what I've been doing, and I think there was. When we talked earlier, there was a discussion about this, which will lead into like what I've been doing during quarantine. I started a series of videos called the COVID-19 Capers, mainly just to keep myself active during quarantine and training on things. So, but we'll get into that when we get to that section, I guess.
Yeah.
Or are we in that
Absolutely.
section?
Well, we can get
there
right now.
Okay.
Quarantine, more like borantine.
Yeah, so the capers, what's that all about?
So the COVID-19 capers, a lot of the performers right now that I know or that are about are going a little crazy, a little stir crazy, because the weekend comes and we go and perform places, or we go to other friends' performances, or we're out and about, or we're doing workshops or classes or teaching others. Like there's that buzz of activity involving what we do, right? And there's as I'm sure like you guys will look at likes and engage your involvement and engagement, right? Then we kind of do the same thing. Even though it's like my uncle at one point asked me, he was like, "So you're still doing that sideshow burlesque stuff, yeah?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "Is there any money in that?" And I was like, "Yeah, there are times I make tens of dollars. It's fantastic, right. I mean, and then there are definitely times that I make more than tens of dollars, but that's not. This is not a. I'm not doing it because I'm going to get rich, right? That's not it. But there's something about like connecting with an audience or being able to, and it's like audiences large and small, right? A small room is great. A child who all of a sudden is like blown away because they've rolled a frying pan and handed it to this child. It's like I've completely warped their entire world. Like they have no idea what to do with that, right?
I would be blown away by that.
Yeah, or the notion that like one guy at an event was kind of like, "So how'd you bend that nail?" And I was like, "Well, I took it under my chin and I bent the nail." And he was like, "Yeah, but what'd you use?" And I was like, "So I put it under my chin and I bent the nail." And he was like, "No, but what'd you use?" And I was like, "Oh, so like, what did I use to bend the nail?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, I did this." And I offered up my forearm, and he was like, "Oh man, that's a." And I was like, "But you're right. I did use something else." And he was like, "Well, what?" And I offered him my other forearm, and he was like, "Okay, but fair enough." But so like connecting like that, or just having telling a good story there's a particular stunt I do, or a thing where it's like I'm trying to leave some of the sideshow behind and trying to leave some of the painful strength stuff behind and go into the more forgiving world of magic, where it's like, it's still there, there's still a lot of pain involved. It's just more internal for a magician than it is external for a sideshow.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's all I'll do. It's like, come for the spectacular feats of strength and stay for the mediocre magic. It's like kind of what I offer up. But yeah, so it's like connecting in that way, or making someone wonder. It's like, did I just see something real happen? Is it a trick? Is it that? And they're kind of on their heels, and so you're able to roll with an audience and like this, right? I mean, like I've not met you guys before, but now we are creating a thing. It's not I'm not performing for you. You guys aren't performing for me. We created a situation of we, and we are having a good time. It just which is a really good way of trying to engage an audience. Because if you're offering them a product and they don't want that product, then you're stuck. If you're in it together, and whatever's going on is whatever's going on, all the the bed of nails or the chain breaks or things that I do or ripping cards, all of those are props, but they're not. But they're things that they're visual aids to tell the story and to connect. So I think that's the thing with quarantine that's been driving everyone crazy is that lack of connection. And so with that lack of connection, I thought, well, I can go online and I can make these kind of vaudevillian, old school looking videos where, there's fast motion at times or it's kind of, and I try to create sometimes like silly problems that require silly ansers. Like,
they're a lot of fun to watch.
There was one where I took a tennis racket, has no strings, and I try to hit a ball, and it didn't work. So I tried again, it didn't work, and I was like, oh well, let me get the ball, and I reached the tennis racket, and I realized I'm stuck, and then I actually at some point get my entire body to go through the tennis racket, which is So that one's in there, but it's like for the love of the game, right? And, but I mean, so it's like if I can make people laugh, if I can work on my own skills, then it's a win-win or connect in some way. Or, some people are like, man, I can't wait until the next one comes out. Like I'm always refreshing or looking and making sure I have it. So I've been doing the COVID-19 capers. And I think we all started this, in March? So that's May, June, July. So almost 5 months. And I've made 51 of these videos. So
goodness.
No big deal. And lately I've been using so you remember in old movies there would be like the text panel, like not like you were there because you were two young looking gentlemen, but like in old movies how they have the text panels, right? Like they'll do a thing, and for the people that can't see, it's like I'm looking like a very afraid of the monster pose.
Yes.
And then the text panel will be like shrieking, or oh no, right? So I started to use those text panels as another character. Like I did what's called a nail drive, where I take a nail in my palm and I drive it through a board. Usually I pop a balloon, but the other, it's like I was going to do one where I had the board set up on stands, and it was such where they said the text panel was like, "Man, that looks really dangerous. You should wear eye protection." I was like, "Good idea." So I put on a blindfold, and it's like the text panel was like, I don't think that's what I meant. Like that's not. So it's like it's the mother character. It's the that naive, like, I don't know what you're doing, but it seems cool. It's a very fun thing to like figure out that dialogue for that thing, and then I don't have to say anything because it's sort of explained by this other other text panel.
Yeah.
So if I were to start bending stuff,
yes,
what would you suggest I start with?
I mean that really depends too. Cards are a good start, and
like just bending cards. I could bend cards, bending,
like tearing cards, or if you wanted to bend, carriage bolts or various things. Like there's a variety of ways to go about it.
So like if I remember vividly, I've been to Spoon like 2 months ago. I don't know why. Right. So I guess the next step would be 2 spoons. Like, should I just keep
it could be 2 spoons or the fork? The fork might be nice to make it and then the knife so that you actually have a good play setting. And you can always set that out for folks that you're really not that fond of. Well, I invited them to dinner. I don't know why they left. Like they try to eat, and, So
bent silverware. I kept spilling spaghetti all over my face.
Or you can bring your yeller over, and then your yeller will feel right at home because he was very famous for bending spoons, right? So
that's true.
Yeah.
What's your favorite trick
the favorite feat or stunt these days? That varies. Like it's the one that the one that was nerve wracking that I think you guys may have seen the video of where I did a nail drive where I drove a nail through a board while blindfolded. That was terrifying. I filed that under a really dumb idea that I got away with, more so than a good idea, because you're bringing a nail down at this board that your hand is also holding, right? So like that was, or something that happened the other day, which was kind of fun. I was going to tear some cards and use like a seesaw type thing. Basically, I set something up so I could step on the board and it would flip up this deck of cards that was still in the wrapper. But I had my hands handcuffed behind my back, and I managed to do that, catch them behind my back, and then rip the cards, and then handcuffs. So that was exciting. That was fun because it's like I haven't done this before. Wow. It's a dumb idea. Let's see if it works. But then there are others where it's like using your chest to snap a piece of chain, like you have a chest belt that comes around, and then you link up the chain, and that is very satisfying. Just to like bring in as much air as you can, all of a sudden just to feel it just like stretch and then break. And see the belt fly away and like things to go on. It's very exciting. But that's in strength stuff. And then also I've been working on sword swallowing, which is also legitimate and real. Like it's not
very dangerous.
It's very dangerous, but it doesn't go back into the handle. It doesn't nothing. There's it's not sharp. Right, because what are we crazy, right? But it's like, but by and large, like that's something where it's like with bending and like tearing cards or doing that sort of thing, you can see it, right? You can see what's happening. Once it's in your throat, it's all sort of by braille at that point. Like you have to figure out where things go in your body and get used to that. So progress is slow, but it's also very satisfying. And so the progress I've made is kind of pushing that into my favorite beat of the moment, right?
So fun. With all the kind of just crazy wild stuff you do, what's like the worst injury? Have you gotten like crazy injured from this?
Not crazy injured, knock on wood. But there was a point where, and it's interesting, before I was doing a lot of the strength stuff, I was doing this stunt where I would lay on a bed of nails and someone would step on a board that was on my chest. And then I would have like an assistant standing to the side, and then an audience member would walk over and they would step up on the board and gingerly put their hand on the shoulder of the assistant. So like they wouldn't fall, but they weren't like bearing weight, right? They weren't planting their weight down, and I would bench press the board off of my chest. So I was lifting a dynamic weight straight up and then bring them back down, which would generally work. But one night the volunteer that was chosen was hammered, and so her balance was not her friend, and she started to fall, and in trying to like do that like involuntary like, oh, I'm falling, let me clench and figure it out, she ended up pushing me across the bed of nails. And that was not pleasant, and she fell, and like everyone was fine. But I felt kind of like it was like the next day I was like putting on a shirt and was like, what's going on? And my friend was like, oh, well, it's because you've got like about 50 scratches all like an inch long across your back. And so that was a particularly bad one. Or so there was a thing where up here in Maryland, the duck pin bowling is king, right? Like not regular bowling, but it's like a smaller ball, smaller pins. And so I use a duck pin ball and we'll put a plate on my chest and have someone drop the ball and have it shatter the plate, which is fine. I mean, it shows that it's not fake, right? Well, a shard of the plate shot up and nicked the side of my neck, and I was talking, and like some of my other friends were like, you got a thing. They're like pantomiming that I got a thing, and I didn't realize what they were saying, and I'm just talking, and there's like blood coming down my neck, and finally I was like, I felt it, and I was like, oh, I got a thing. So I grabbed the towel that had been on my chest, held it to the side of my neck, and then kept going. Because the show must go on, right?
The show must go on.
That happens to me during podcasting. It's
sure. Yeah, I mean, turning the pages of the script, that is like prime paper cut hazard there.
Paper cuts everywhere.
Right. Static feedback in the ears. I mean, there are. You guys should have a JHA, like job hazard analysis.
OSHA's all over us right now.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So don't worry, the army of Todds will protect your podcast. We'll band together to protect what is ours.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I think that wraps up quarantine more like Borantine.
Does it?
It does. Oh, do you have
Okay,
anything
cool.
else?
Yeah, let's go on.
All right. It is time for the next segment.
What if Todd was one of us?
All right. What if Todd was one of us? This is where we give you a scenario that one of our listeners submits, and they essentially want to know, what would you have done, Todd, in the situation? So I will read it aloud for you now. I was at Cracker Barrel a while back, and being the gentleman that I am, I held the door open for the people coming in behind me. Little did I know I was holding the door open for a bus of traveling softball players and coaches. They were all very polite and thanked me. However, as a result of my kind gesture, they were seated almost immediately, while me and my party had to wait for about 30 minutes. Should I have even held the door open? What's an acceptable amount of time to hold the door? Should I have bailed halfway through? What would you have done, Todd?
I would have held the door open. I mean, I think kindness is its own reward, and
love it.
And I think also when you finally get that those sweet biscuits and or the very thick chicken noodle soup that you have at the Cracker Barrel, like, you're gonna enjoy it a lot more, right? Because what would be worse, right? Like, you hold it open and you let it fall on the person that has been with the team all year, but now has this hellacious leg injury, and it slams them in the cast, and now the whole team is glaring at you, and you realize they have bats on that bus. I'm not getting out of here alive, right? So, like, 30 minutes versus being beaten to death by an angry softball team, I think is a pretty easy call. Be nice.
Hey. Local man massacred at Cracker Barrel by softball team. That headline happens a lot.
I'm not gonna lie.
Classic headline.
Said that, like, if that had been something that had come out of Tampa, I would not be surprised. Like, that would not be
the whole Florida region, like anything Florida related. You can say 8 words together and it's believable.
Anything. Yeah, right.
8 random words.
It's kind of like those, like, let your
the predictive text. Just press the middle button.
Right.
Local alligator wins mayor, fires secretary, and grows mustache. It's like, okay, it's from Florida, so that's believable.
That is true. That happens. Yeah. But I would think. I mean, I try to just not be a jerk in general. And if I happen to hold open the door for a softball team, I mean, they've been running around, they've been doing things, like, they're hungry, like they've been, and if I'm just, like, on a road trip, like, sitting in the lobby and not driving for another half hour is actually kind of nice. Like, that's
they got that gift shop you can check out too. I mean,
and
you buy so many quilts.
Let's be honest, like, I think we all need more practice on that triangle golf.
Yes,
that's
true.
Yeah, so it's like unless you're an expert at that, you can use the other 30 minutes to hone your skills.
Yeah, I usually just sit outside.
What's that?
Just sit outside and school the elderly people in checkers. In the big
checkers. And if the weather's great, then they have rocking chairs, right? And so you can, like, play checkers, you can play this, and then all of a sudden they're going to call your name, and you're like, no, I'm good, because because Grandpa out here is into me for $50, and I'm not letting him off the hook.
Like, they're just hardcore gambling.
Yeah, so you got, like, a side. You can you got all that time to make a side hustle right there at the Cracker Barrel. So be nice, let people sit, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100.
Yeah,
and you never know, right? Like, I like to think of things as, there are opportunities that you can't predict, right? Kindness is its own reward, and I like to be rewarded as much as I can.
Yeah, nice gestures seem to open up more possibilities in the future.
Well, right. Well, like, I read something one time about, like, walking in New York City versus walking in Tokyo, right? Same concentration, dense concentration of people, but in New York, it's like, in Chicago, it's like big shoulders are walking through and you bang against everybody, right? Whereas in Japan, people turn, right? And so you're able to get where you're going more quickly in Tokyo because people help each other through crowds and they anticipate where you're moving. So it becomes more of a dance or more of a thing, and it becomes like you just kind of float on through, and you're not like, if I hit another person's shoulder today, I'm going to flip this desk and I'm going to beat somebody with a newspaper. Like, you get so frustrated by hitting things or by hitting obstacles or by rudeness.
Yes.
But like what you're saying, like if all of a sudden you've been in a situation where it's like, man, I went to the store and everyone was so nice. Everyone was nice. Yeah. And I got so much done today. And, like, Went to the license branch. It took 8 minutes, and they were nice. Like whatever it is, it really changes your outlook when things are easy or people are nice or kind or
Yeah.
And it's a muscle like anything else, right? Like it's easy to be upset, particularly now with so much going on. Like, just be nice. Just try that for a while. And if you're already upset, then be nicer, right? Because then that'll come back to fix what you're upset about.
Nice. So be nice and be kind, everyone. And with that, it's our favorite time.
It's time to prod Todd.
You all should have bought me a drink first, but
you seem like a man who is into some wacky kind of things. So we are about to. It's time to prod Todd. We're gonna ask some questions. Just we're gonna kick it off with mac and cheese. Is it an entree or a side?
Yes.
Good. Solid.
Yeah, because it depends, right? If you're invited to the barbecue, and I mean that in the literal sense or also the ideological sense, right? If you are in terms I've definitely been to places where that is the entree, and that is a family recipe, and people are like buzzing with anticipation. No Rocky Horror fans? Anyway, that's fine. But
yes,
they're buzzing with anticipation to have this macaroni and cheese because it's a family thing that has been passed down from like the Mayflower or from the Sahara. Like it is an old family recipe, right? And then there are other times where it's like, all right, kids, like here's your chicken nuggets, and we're gonna have some mac and cheese on the side, and also totally fun. So like,
yes,
it really, I don't want to. In that regard, it's like it is both because situations change and both are acceptable.
Yeah. If you make mac and cheese, like say you had guests over, what does that mac and cheese mean from the way you're presenting it?
It's probably a side because I like a lot of small. It's almost like a tapas restaurant, and that's tapas TAPAS, not everyone take their shirts off. It's not that. It's but it's much more. It's like small plates, small tastes of things, and it's funny like that must have grown out of. I was a food separatist as a child. I don't know if you guys did that. Like food can't touch. Like potatoes can't touch the.
You gotta have those like segmented plates where everything has its own area.
Those were idyllic, right? But But now it's like it's like I like the flavors of things, and I also liked. All right, I like this a little bit more than that, so I'm gonna eat more of that, and then I'm gonna have a bite of everything at the end, and then rank. So I have like the my favorite taste at the end of the meal, right?
Ooh, that's smart. Rank your food.
Yeah, so it was like sort of. I guess it would be a side if I were to make it now.
All right. Nice. So next question. Name 5 types of fish.
Okay. 5 types of fish. There's an angelfish. There's a clownfish. There's salmon. There's tuna. And there's Hootie and the Blow.
Oh.
Well,
I like the way he rounded that one out.
Yeah, some Darius Rucker in there.
All right.
So,
challenge
true
complete.
story. I had moved from Indiana in the mid-'90s to Columbia, South Carolina. And I left behind the dulcet tones of John Cougar Mellencamp, who was on every station every day in Indiana because John Cougar Mellencamp.
Right.
And not a thing wrong with John Cougar Mellencamp. But let's go back to the macaroni and cheese situation. Side or entree, cool. But side or entree every day, then the answer is neither. Like I don't, after the first 6 weeks of mac and cheese, I don't want anymore. Right.
Yeah, I'm done.
So like John Cougar Mellencamp, phenomenal performer. Farm aid, giving back to the nation's farmers and in times of need, a mention every sense of the word. And from what I understand, a really good guy. Like I've never heard a bad word about him. But his music, all day, every day. And I got so excited, like that was one of the advantages of leaving Indiana and moving to South Carolina until I saw a Blockbuster music store saying, Cracked Rear View in stock. And I was like, what's a Cracked Rear View? And that was the breakout album of Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh, yeah.
And they're from Columbia, South Carolina. So it was like from one local son to the other. And it was just, it was kind of a pop sensation to pop sensation or top 40 to top 40. And it was like, it was a baton and a relay. Like there was no gap. There was no musical oasis. It was just like, Darius is standing there with his arm outstretched and John Cougar puts the baton in his hand while Darius is already starting to run. It was like immediate.
You were just in constant mac and cheese back then.
Constant mac and cheese. Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good way of referring to both of their music. It's like there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly enjoyable, and it's perfectly accessible to everyone. But it's mac and cheese. It's not filet mignon.
I think that was actually John Mellencamp's motto. I think he compared himself to mac and cheese many times.
I would imagine so.
One of his B tracks.
Yeah. So keeping it on the music theme here, which member of NSync do you most relate to?
I strangely know more varieties of fish than I know any of the members of NSync. It was never my jam. I was never a boy band guy.
How dare you?
Was that Timberlake? Was Justin Timberlake?
The show is over. Yes, it was. It was JT.
Okay. Well then, JT. Funny thing, I went to a concert one night at this venue called the 930 Club in DC because it had been at 930 F Street. Even though it was no longer at 930 F Street, they'd moved to another venue, but they kept the name because it was the 930 Club, and they just put a colon in there, so it was 9:30, like the time.
Yeah.
But there was a show that I went to, and the line was around the block, and I was like, man, it seemed like it wouldn't be for this guy that I was going to go see, Jonathan Richman. It's like that. All right. And I was like, and someone's like, oh man, I can't believe we got JT tickets. And I was like, Justin Timberlake, and they're like, yeah, that's what we're in line for. And I was like, oh, I'm here for, I guess, the early show. And I was like, what are you here for? Timberlake. And so I'd go in front of them. What are you here for? Timberlake. And I'd go in front of them. So all of a sudden, it's like I went through 3/4 of the line because I was actually I was there for the first show and not for Justin Timberlake.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was they would have these shows. I mean, it kind of could backfire because they would have like 2 shows in a night at times.
Yeah,
it was great, like more revenue, but they would try to make them as disparate as possible so that people wouldn't try to hide in the bathroom and go to both or something, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes, like one time, it was the Cramps and Nancy Sinatra, and honestly, I would have gone to both of those shows. Like that would have been a fantastic, weird, surreal double billing, But
what a crazy evening.
Yeah, but yeah, like Jonathan Richman and Justin Timberlake, that's about as separate as one can get.
That's a JT it is.
Yeah, so I guess JT would be the one I would identify with because, well, and this actually I have a real answer now that we
go.
The fact is that like he seemed to be relentless in terms of redefining himself and adapting to what's next. No more complete denim suit,
right?
But like becoming a very competent actor or becoming. He was in what was that? Black Snake Moon, was that the name of the movie with Christina Ricci and Samuel L. Jackson?
I think he was in that movie.
Yeah, he played a guy that he was a soldier with PTSD,
right?
And like he came back to Christina Ricci, who was his girlfriend, and like she had to be there for him, but she had her own trouble. Like everyone was flawed. It was like very Southern Gothic, but like I don't think of anyone else in sync basically rolling into an acting career or rolling into foundation work or some of the other things. So like I think that seeing what comes next, I would most identify with JT.
So you have the looks of JT and the rebranding ability. Congrats.
Yeah, I'll take it. I would take it, and I'll even take it at a quarter of the income. It'd still be fine.
Yeah, be just fine.
I mean, let's not be greedy, right?
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Yes, sir.
What time is hammer time?
Well, for a sideshow performer, that's pretty early in the act. Not any time is hammer time. It's such where you anytime you have a hammer and you want to, and you have more than one person in front of you or one person in front of you, it's hammer time.
Oh my! I believe. We have a hammer coming out.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, there's a nail. Oh wait.
Oh no! He's putting it in his nose.
Oh no!
Oh, that's hammer time.
So Brad, describe what we just watched.
All right, so what I did,
tell us.
I took a 16-penny 3 1/4 inch nail, and I put it in my nose, or just outside of my nose, and then there you go. That we can put in post. We're talking about that segment, but that went into my nose. And now it's kind of wedged. You can see it even move a little bit. And then what will happen is I will brace myself, and I will slowly.
He is pulling a nail out of his nose.
And then you gotta, as we talked about, you gotta clean your tools.
Oh, now he's eating it.
Now, see, eating it is such a misnomer.
He has just consumed
the nail. Cleaning the nail because the nail had gotten soiled. So, but yeah, so for Sideshow performer, anytime is hammer time. That is final answer. I'm not using a phone a friend. I'm not using a 50-50. That's final answer.
Wow. You have just won the $1 million. Congrats. Oh, my goodness. I did not expect that happening. All right. So this question comes in. This question comes in from a member of the Todd Squad at Matt Keys. How long would it take to punch through a cow?
How long would it take to punch through a cow?
Yes.
Longer than I'd like to imagine. I think I think at some point the cow would be like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. This is what's happening
I think this is a very tolerant cow that just kind of hangs out.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, and I think, like, and then you have to really define what through. Is it like just the outer layer of the cow, or is it to the point where you see like on the other side?
You're going straight through this fool.
Right. Well, so then you have to then think like where on the cow. I mean, like now you're looking into like a butcher question. Like, if you're punching through like the hindquarters, that's days, right? Whereas the lower part of the stomach, not quite as meaty, thereby might be. I have no idea. But I think that. One, it's like the old Tootsie Roll Pop commercials. It's like the world may never know because I for one have no plans to go punch a cow or to punch through a cow.
That's probably frowned upon by many.
It is frowned upon. This one's growing up in Indiana, it feels like I'm punching my home state somehow. Like punching dairy or agriculture, punching through that. It just seems it seems a waste of good product. So I'm not going to do it.
Don't punch farm animals, kids.
Don't punch farm animals. That's one to grow on, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So should Pluto still be considered a planet?
Yes.
Yeah. I miss it.
Yeah. You had like the whole nursery rhyme or that whole mnemonic device of monkeys visit every month just so you know planets is dumb without. It's like just so you know. What do we know? What's to be known? Yeah. Monkeys visit.
We need Pluto.
Just so you know.
Dot.
Yeah, and so it becomes like a really foreboding kind of Night Vale kind of David Lynchian question. Monkeys visit every month, just so you know.
See, I never knew that one.
I've never heard that.
What was mine? My very eager mother.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Something pizzas.
Good stuff. Pizzas?
Clearly, I don't know. Well, pizzas was planet or Pluto.
Right.
But now there's no pizza.
So now we're denied the answer to the question in mind. We're denied pizza at the end of yours. So Pluto needs to come back.
Yeah.
Because it was what completed the thought. Right.
It's clearly integral to any acronym out there.
Yeah. And just to close the loop, it was my very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas.
9 pizzas.
So you were right about the pizzas.
So served us 9, and then 9 what? Like
right? Yeah.
It's so suspenseful.
Pluto answers the question.
Yeah, you've got to resolve the question, or it's just rude.
So the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Pluto stays.
So the next question is a very classic. Would you rather?
Okay.
All right. So
the fact that you're giggling before you can even get to the question makes me. I'm glad I'm sitting down. But go ahead.
It's mildly ridiculous. So would you rather?
Would you rather build a sandcastle or throw a watermelon?
Why not both? Why not carefully?
Because it's would you rather. You can't just. Right. You can't just. It's not. Would you both?
Well, see, but this is what show people do, right? It's like, all right, so we have the sandcastle and we have this watermelon. How could we make a story? What could we do here, right? But yeah, I think. Well, and also depends on the velocity and the ability to throw said watermelon, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's like the pumpkin chunkin gun type thing where it's a hydraulic cannon, and you can shoot a pumpkin or some kind of thing 300 yards, pumpkin all day.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's just kind of like hoisting a watermelon and tossing it around, Yeah, I'm going to go with the sandcastle because I tend to try to be more creative and additive in that regard than the idea of just taking a thing. And watermelons are delicious. I don't want to throw that away.
Well, you can throw it on the ground and then eat it.
Well, that's true. I mean, but there are fancier ways of opening watermelon.
So you're a fancy man.
When it comes to watermelon, yeah.
You must prefer my watermelon to be sliced.
If the bar of fancy is dropping it on the ground, then yes, I'm a fancy man. Like if that is the bar. Yeah, I mean, do I carve it into animals and have like a topiary watermelon, manger scene? No, I'm not that kind of fancy.
Oh, okay.
But I'm fancier than throwing it on the ground to open it. I think that's a fair compromise.
That's too fancy for me. You're basically the equivalent of like a fancy butler right now.
So what you save in dish soap, you are actually spending a lot in terms of mopping and floor products.
No, my floor is just ridiculously sticky. It's so sticky. Beautiful. Yeah, cool. It's horrible. We're gonna wrap it up with one more question.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight, Saturn or Uranus?
Well, it depends if there's hot sauce involved. But that's a whole different.
No props, unfortunately. This is a mono.
Well, then I would go Saturn. I would go Saturn all day because you would think it would be fairly well matched, but Saturn's a ringer.
Oh, no, he didn't.
I did. Yeah, he's a ringer.
Fair enough. Ooh, he's got a tiny bell.
We don't even need a soundboard. He's got it all. This is great.
Master Jackson over here.
All right. Well, that's enough prodding Todd. It's time for the next one.
That's odd, Todd.
All right. So we all know what time it is. It's time for 2 truths and 1 lie coming in from the mystery man himself, Hot Todd Lincoln. Do you have these 2 truths and 1 lie ready for us?
I do.
All right. When you're ready, go ahead and spout those off.
All right. Statement number 1. I have worked at a time at a marionette theater. Number 2 is that I came in second at my very first CrossFit tournament. And then number 3 is that I took a motorcycle ride halfway across the country in a day.
Okay.
These are all so believable.
They are. I mean, the marionette one, obviously.
Yeah.
Let's just throw that out there. Of course, it sounds true.
Yeah.
The CrossFit one, I can see because I mean, you seem like a quite of a strong man. You have the forearms of Popeye, and and you did talk about Indiana. You did talk about South Carolina, so it does make sense that trip would happen.
Yeah.
Ooh, I sound like a snake. I don't know where that came from. It happened.
I'm gonna lock in mine. I'm gonna say it's the CrossFit one. I'm gonna just my thought process there being that's not your training routine. It's something else, and maybe it is a part of it. But that's just I'm gonna lock that in now. Brad, what do you think?
Oh, I didn't know we were insulting people with our answers.
No, I'm saying I think his training is much better than CrossFit.
No.
See, this is great. I'm going to get YouTube fighting about it. I'm just going to watch and get some popcorn. It's going to be lovely.
It will be the worst fight ever. You will hate your popcorn and you hate what you see.
It's hammer time. It's hammer time.
It is. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with the I think we can go with the marionette one. That sounds. I feel like he slid that one in there, trying to catch us slipping.
Yeah,
because of all of the stuff. So yeah, let's go with
the real
that.
Slim Shady. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. The lie is the CrossFit. CrossFit. I did work at the Marionette Theater. It was a bright pink building on my way home from work one day, or from teaching classes, and I was like, all right, I pass this pink building every day. What is this? And so I walked over, and it was a Marionette Theater, and I was like, I'm intrigued, and they were hiring, and so I ended up
working here
at the Marionette Theater. So I worked at Marionette Theater, and then on my dad's birthday weekend, I decided to hop on the motorcycle and drive home, which took about 14 hours. I was singing show tunes of shows that didn't exist yet. I was beyond tired. The headlight had burnt out, so I was high beam at that point on a GS 450, like a Suzuki GS 450, which is not designed for highway use.
Exactly.
And then my dad was so excited that I was there that we then took his motorcycle and my motorcycle out the next day and rode an additional 300 miles around. So it's my arms were pretty much in this position for about a week, just up in the bar readiness, just brought me on the bike. And it's like the Kung Fu grip was pretty much my hand position at that point because they were, So, but CrossFit was the thing I made up, but.
And if you would have done CrossFit, you would have known how long it took to punch through a cow. So I should have known that.
There you go.
I should have thought a little deeper into it.
Well, thanks for playing Two Truths One Lie with us.
Sure, that was fun. I'm glad. I'm glad I was able to deceive in a harmless way.
Yes, indeed.
You're a clever Todd.
Well, it is time to start rounding out this amazing episode with the next segment.
In Todd, we trust.
All right. In Todd, we trust. I mean, gosh, we've heard be kind to people, view everything as an opportunity. So, I mean, you've given a lot of good wisdom so far. So what's one piece of wisdom that you would like to leave the listeners with?
Well, I think, and it's, that's, some of it can be like platitudes, right? Like be the best you can be or do that. But I think really is, it's like, and I think right now, and I know we didn't want to go to religious or political or that sort of thing, but this is more of, whatever the climate, right? Like, be present, be willing to be wrong, and be humble, right? Like, rarely are you going to get into trouble for doing any of those things, right?
Yeah.
If a friend needs you and you're present, then you're a good friend. If you are willing to say I messed up, or that information I had was incorrect, and now I have better information and I can move forward. That shows growth, So I think it's just, I think if you can notch down your ego to be a student, to be a constant student, then you're going to be able to learn a lot of things, and that's going to benefit you, right? Yeah. So, but be kind, be humble, be present, and be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday.
Huh.
I like it.
I
like it a lot.
I love it.
Yeah. So you can go to threadless.com and find that on a t-shirt. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, thanks for just dropping all these, nuggets of wisdom on us and playing all these crazy games with us and all that. With that,
it's time to give a nod to Todd.
All right, Todd. So this kind of wraps it up. This is where we thank you. I mean, genuinely, we appreciate you taking the time out.
No, it was a pleasure. It's not often I get invited to be on something so weirdly specific to what I am, right?
It's what we do. We're very weirdly specific guys. So
right, and I'd asked Michael at some point, how in the wheel of names that Todd became the Toddcast, other than the obvious rhyme, right? And it could have been the Rodcast, and anyone named Rod could have been there, like Rod Serling or Rod McEwen or Rod Carew.
We tried that for a little bit. No Rods responded, so we moved on to Todd.
Fair enough. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
someone is still bitter about losing the CrossFit situation. I'm just saying.
I will forever. This will affect me for a long time. We kind of just landed on it. Obviously, for the rhyme, if you couldn't tell by probably the insurmountable amount of puns we use, and
I'm filled with puns. I mean, I just told you the thing about Joan of Arkansas. So like
you did. This is on brand for you. So yeah. We kind of landed on it, but it's been a wild ride so far, and we've met some really cool Todds.
Right.
Including you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But it's fascinating because it is sort of a novel thing when another Todd when a Todd meets another Todd, because we're not. It's not John. It's not a very common name. So it's like
Dave.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things. Like I was in a summer camp. I was years ago at summer camp. There were 3 Todds in one cabin, and I was one of them, and it was maddening because we're not used to that. That's not supposed to happen. Yeah. We had the luxury of someone says Todd, and it's automatically us. If there's more than one Michael, you've already been conditioned. To it's like you need more contextual clues before you turn around.
Exactly.
Because there's another Michael there, it could just as easily be that Michael.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like Todd, you hear Todd, and it's like, oh, that's clearly. And then like the 3 of us were like head on a swivel, almost to needing a chiropractor because this was new territory for us.
Oh. Yeah, we appreciate it. I mean, it's kind of a niche kind of category, and it's
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, it's great.
It's very odd to just randomly reach out to people via Instagram, and we appreciate you keeping an open mind and coming on telling us about street performing, old timey strongman stuff. I mean, it helped me understand kind of what was going on. I thought you were just a really strong dude who was magical, but
there's that. I mean, it's a combination. It's column A, column B, depending on what the thing is, right?
So everyone, if you'd like, go ahead and give him a follow on Instagram. That's at Hot Todd Lincoln. And you can follow us on Instagram at the Toddcast Pod, and follow us wherever you can find podcast. Todd, did you have anything else you wanted to drop? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. It's Todd Gardner on YouTube, but that needs some work. So really the best place I think right now is the Hot Todd Lincoln Instagram handle. That's where the most current things and that will show announcements. I mean, right now it's sort of as an interesting time, right? So a lot of the shows that I would be doing in Baltimore or thereabouts would generally not be accessible to a lot of your listeners, but there's now a lot of virtual things, right? So I'll post things on my Instagram, like virtual shows that are coming up, or things that can be, like Zoom based shows or things of that nature, which has been an interesting change. I mean, sitting in this room with red curtains behind me, sort of ready to go to do a show, but also the things like this, the timing is weird, right? Like if you're doing a Facebook Live and it's like, I'm showing you your card, right? And then you have to cover your eyes and keep the card in frame and then wait for the responses, and there's a lag. It's a weird timing thing. But
never thought about that. It must be a hard time for that kind of those kind of things.
It is. And also like not to be too woo woo or new agey about it, but like there is an energy in performing with a crowd and having people there with you, because you're all part of this thing, and that's something that's brewing and happening. Whereas, and then the unknown killer, the unknown danger is like when the show like this or a show like an online show or something is done, it's done. Like click, you've left the conversation, and there's no like hanging out with the other performers backstage for a while.
Yeah,
there's no wind down, there's no cool down. It's kind of like, okay, you're in this boxing match, get out of the gym. Like, not just like go to the locker room and take a shower. It's like, no, out. Take your shoes, take your coat, out. Right, and so like that's a real abrupt change that none of the performers really anticipated. That like you do your thing, you connect in that sort of virtual, kind of tangible, kind of not way, and then it's done. You're out. So that's a little weird too.
Well, with that being said, if you're a Todd or know any Todds, slide into our DMs at the Toddcast Pod or email us at the Toddcastpod@gmail.com.
All right, and with that, I am Michael.
I'm Brad.
And he's Todd. Oh, there
Todd. There he is.
That was my cue. I was ready for it.
Oh, you nailed it.